We good? All right, welcome everyone. Happy Tuesday. We are so excited that you decided to join us tonight. My name is Dr. Stacy Holweger, and I have a very, very special guest with us tonight. You know, the last couple of weeks I have been interviewing different doctors in my organization, but tonight I'm actually going to let you hear from a doctor in our upline. And I am so excited. I got to meet Dr. Nicholas back in Costa Rica at our senior presidential leadership retreat last November, got to know he and his wife. And then, of course, we got to do our event together in Arizona back in March. For those of you that were there with us, I got to see him on stage in action. So it was very, very informative and amazing. So I asked him if he would be on here with us tonight to be able to give his insight, his information, and also be able to share with you how this technology can benefit you, but then also can benefit other doctors and practitioners too, and what he's done. So listen to this bio. So Dr. Nicholas has been a chiropractor for 25 years, having one of the most successful clinics in the United States. He continues to passionately study the latest in cutting-edge scientific breakthroughs in anti-aging and energy medicine in order to deliver the healthcare of the future. Dr. Nicholas is a Lifewave Senior Presidential Director and a U.S. Advisory Board member. He is one of the world's leading experts in the use of Lifewave patch technology. He spent the last 12 years coaching doctors and healthcare practitioners on integrating this technology into their practices to dramatically improve their own health and the health of their patients. He and his business partner, Dr. Joan, have become the go-to experts for doctors wishing to create residual income, allowing them to retire from their practice. And as you can see, Dr. Nicholas has just stepped out of the office for the day for us. He's out in Arizona. We're here on the East Coast, so he's about 3 hours behind us. So Dr. Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are so excited to hear from you and let you just share. We have almost 250 people on our Zoom right now, so I know they can't wait to hear your insights. So thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure and an honor. It's so exciting that we're growing like in leaps and bounds and so much more interest, and like there's such a mass tipping point that's happening, and it's palpable, and I keep pinching myself because it's real. And like I said, as you introduced me, it's been since we got involved in 2008. So I'll kind of just quickly share my story with Joan. We had a practice in Tucson, and she started having a lot of health issues, and we were living a holistic lifestyle and doing everything so-called right, but stress can do a lot of harm to the body. And so we were not introduced to Lifewave through a distributor. We actually read it through Suzanne Summers' book, Breakthrough. So Joan had a lot of symptoms. I'll just give symptoms only so I stay compliant. She had whole body pain issues. She was losing her eyesight, losing her memory. She had chest pain and out of the hospital for that, digestive issues, you name it, it seemed like she had it. So we were kind of in a desperate situation. So we shifted our practice around and went into using low-level laser therapy for her to do a different style of practice and do nutritional testing, where I continued to do what I was doing. So one of her patients came in one day and offered her an article in a Life Extension magazine. It was on light therapy through, and Suzanne Summers written the article. So we were kind of a followers through other reasons. And she was talking about her book at the time that just came out called 8 Steps to Wellness, called Breakthrough. And so it's kind of a catchy phrase. So we thought, well, maybe there's something in this book that can help you. And so we went over to Barnes and Nobles at the time and got the book and started reading through it. And each chapter in the book was a different medical doctor being interviewed by Suzanne Summers. And she was saying how, you know, these therapies can help you. And they're very controversial at the end. She's very controversial, but we're like, we'll try anything. So we were trying things throughout the book, and nothing really made any significant impact. But Joan's a big reader, so she kept reading, luckily. And it was the second to the last chapter in the book on Lifewave. And we were really big into glutathione. That was our hook. So I was doing IV drips for Joan for her eyesight and for detoxing. I was doing nutritional supplements for all of our patients. And that would elevate your levels 6% to 14%. Wow. And, you know, I'm like, but they're spending $200-300, right, a month. And we read the chapter, and it's talking about how this technology is made for our military. And David had this patch that will increase your levels 300% in 24 hours. So I'm like, well, that's like medically unheard of, but what does this thing work? So I called the number in the back of the book. It's the same number it is today. And I was asking them, how can I get this stuff? And they said, well, who told you about it? And I said, well, Suzanne Summers. And they go, well, you have to sign up under a distributor. And it didn't dawn on me it was a business. She didn't say it was. She didn't say anything. She just said, well, you have to sign up under a distributor. Where do you live? I said, well, I live in Tucson, Arizona. And she said, well, I just talked to somebody in Phoenix. I'll sign you up under them. And that's how I got involved. I mean, it's no joke, no accident. It wasn't an accident, but it's everything else for a reason. So we ordered everything that was available. So I got her the energy patches, the ice wave, the glutathione, the carnosine, silent night. I figured she could use them all, right? But I got a lot of it. I got the big diamond kit because I didn't know what she would need, and I thought abundant. And I think we were the first ones to start the diamonds that they just came out. So, we signed up and ordered that, and I got them in about 3 days, and I put all of them on her, and they had all these funny little acupuncture points, and the patches were actually bigger than they were, like the size of a $50, really big and funny looking, or silver dollar. And she didn't feel anything. And I don't know why I thought she would, because nobody told me what to expect. So I thought, well, maybe I did it wrong. Maybe I should put more on. And then when in doubt, try more, and still nothing really changed. So I thought, well, maybe I wasted a bunch of money. So we went back to work that day, and she, I'd check in throughout the day, and nothing was significant. It wasn't until the evening that she was standing up, talking quick, and had no pain. So I was like, you look really good. What happened? And she just looked at me and started checking in with all of her pain spots. And all of a sudden she's like, wow, I feel great. I'm like, okay, this is weird. I thought, like when you rev your body before you pass, I thought she was maybe going through something like that. Very strange. And I said, well, let's just wait and see what happens. And I said, let's just check in and see the next day. And so the next day, her eyesight improved. All of her floating drives were gone. So now I'm really getting excited because I don't know what the heck's to happen or what to say. So we actually go back to practice, and that day, and the lady that gave me the article came in and was complaining I have no energy. And Jones said, well, here, put these on and tell me what you feel next visit. She put energy patches on her. And the lady came back in the same day with people talking about how they wanted to get involved and join. And we're like, join what? What are you talking about? And they're starting to tell us how it's a business. And we're like, oh God, it's going to kill our practice. We only heard all these horror stories, and we've never done network marketing. And we only heard all the bad stories that are supposedly out there, but we never did it. And Joan's a very business-oriented background person, and I was more the practitioner kind of person. So she just said, well, let's pray about it first, and we did, and then thought, well, let's trust and let go of the outcome. And it came in our life for a reason, because she was still better. And in a week, all of her symptoms were gone. This is how dramatic it was for us. And so, and all of our patients saw this. So they're like, they wanted it too, and we could not give it to them. So it was like, to me, it was like a perfect marriage for chiropractic. So chiropractic used to do this like 100 years ago, and it wasn't all the same things that are in the environment, like the toxicities, pollutants, EMFs, those sorts of things. So this felt like it put our practice back to that real, truly reducing the stress in the body and clearing the nervous system, but with light. And so since we were doing the lasers, it made us understand the concept, because it was so weird. A little patch could do what our $40,000 lasers were doing on steroids. Mm-hmm. And it was so much faster and cheaper. So we're like, well, we'll let them choose. And so obviously everybody wanted to do the patches. And so it just went viral through our practice, and we had huge referrals, huge changes on people. I call them mini miracles, because the changes I've never seen in practice that I still every day witness with the patches. And so to me, it's just like a nice complement to each other. So whatever style of practice you have as a practitioner, it just adds so much value to whatever you do. It doesn't take place of what you do, it adds value to it. So that's how I dialogue when I do talk to doctors, so they don't think it's going to take place of it, because you don't want to do that. Right. So anyway, so she got better, and then we started doing the business part-time, and we did meetings once a week and explaining how the patch works, which I'll get into. I did a demonstration, and then I'd ask people if they wanted to get involved, and that's all we did. And our second meeting, we had 125 people stand up only in our office. It went viral, and it was big. And everybody signed up as diamonds. So we're getting a call from Mike Collins at the time, he was the president, saying, what are you doing? And we're like, we don't know why. And he starts laughing, and that was the joke. He said, because we've never seen this before. I think we signed up 40 diamonds in a month. It was some ridiculous amount. And that's $500 per diamond in the business side of it. Yeah. So we're like, why does everybody think this business is so bad? It's pretty cool, and it makes you pretty good money. And this is when the the housing market was crashing and our practice was down and our practice was up and we're making money hand over fist and we didn't know what we were doing because in our second month of the company, we were in the top 10 earners with no clue of what we were doing. I call it ignorance on fire. There is something to be said about that. You don't have to know what you're doing. Just let the patches do what they do. Just get them on and the magic will happen. The healing will take place. So we did that for about 2 years and then took the leap of faith and went in business full time, sold our practice back in 2010. And so John's my business partner today. We do Lifewave full time together. I am back in practice part time with my wife, who's a full time chiropractor. I'm just trying to get her to get burned out and kind of that rite of passage to then go Lifewave full time because it's so much more fun. And I love the freedom. The business has so much freedom and we're doing so much for so many people. And it's such a blessing and it just keeps getting better. So Lifewave had these little phases they went through. We fell in the phase right when the anti-aging movement kind of started. So the first phase was like pain, energy, sleep. And then they went into the glutathione, which is when we kind of dropped into Lifewave and the carnosine and then the Eon. Mm-hmm. And now we're in phase 3 where it's all regeneration. And so all of the patches are amazing. Every single one of them. I don't think one's actually better than the other. They just find your sweet spot, your combination that you can afford and duplicate. So I learned that and I didn't understand that. I used to just be like the patch, everything, let them all, wallpaper them and get the wow effect. And it worked, but not everybody could afford it. So for me in the business, I started cold calling doctors. This is when their phone books were still around and actually had landlines. So I went to the number one owner in the company, which was Chuck Michaels at the time, very old school talking, network marketer. And I said, Chuck, what did you do? How did you get where you are? And he goes, well, I called 60 people a day, 7 days a week for 3 years. And I go, well, that's a lot. He goes, it's just a call. You don't care if they sign up. You don't care if they hang up. You don't care what they say. You're learning dialogue. And he said, you're like Jim Rohn says, it's the numbers game. And it's like your averages change as you get better with your skill set. So I kind of took that into play and I studied on that and I started making 60 calls a day, but I was only calling doctors out of the phone book and I was getting the same doctors calling me back because I called them twice sometimes because one had to be here and their name would be here. It was kind of hilarious and embarrassing. And my phone was blowing up on Monday because I left so many messages on the weekend. Everybody's calling me back. I couldn't even answer the phone. So it became such a nightmare. I was like, okay, this isn't working for me. So I cut it down to 30. So that was kind of my magical sweet spot. And then I got pretty good at dialoguing with the front desk, the gatekeeper. And I averaged about 20 to 25 signups a month. And I signed up personally 500 doctors, but I couldn't duplicate myself. You got to learn to duplicate yourself. Nobody wanted to do what I did. And I signed a lot of these doctors up. So I thought if enough of them just stayed using the patches, which they did, I could make a living. And I did. And we were, but it wasn't like the dream. It wasn't the vision. It wasn't like we were doing really well. So 2018 in July, David pre-launches the X49 into the distributor network only, and it went viral. And it was because of the name of stem cell activation. And this was pre-COVID. And then the changes that people were getting that were very similar to what we saw with the other patches. So it was like, whoa, okay. And then a lot of network marketers came in, and I was blessed that it happened to be in my team, and I learned a lot from them. And it was like, wow. So my upline called me one day and said, I want to gift you 2 distributors. I'm like, okay, because I made them a lot of money for the last 12 years at that time or whatever it was. And he said, I want to put in 2 people. One's going to be this big network marketer, and the other is just going to be a customer. And I said, I don't care. I'll help anybody. That's just how I did it. And he knew that. So I got the sponsorship of Robin Mascari, and this other gentleman he kept because he was going to be the big whale. And so Robin was a high profile in another company, and that was fine. And she needed a knee replacement. So I taught her and helped her patch and got her some really good results. But she started thinking of other people that she knew could benefit from this. And I said, I'll help whoever. So we started doing 3-way calls, and it started getting lots and lots and lots of energy. And I'm like, okay, are you sure you don't want to do this? Because you're doing pretty good at it and getting really good results. Well, blessed us because the company she was in fell apart. And it was right at the right time, like everything happens for a reason. And the launch was happening in January of 2019. And Gregory was in LA when the launch was happening in LA, and Robin came down. So it just happened to work out. And they're watching the launch of this amazing historical breakthrough product. And there's only 300 people at this launch. And we're almost an 18-year-old company. So they're going the math and going, this is like the best of the best, because it's a perfect product. There's no other product out there like it, and nobody knows about it. And it's got all the infrastructure built in. So it's like a brand new company, but not. Mm-hmm. And so this thing started to get a lot of attention, and it just has been crazy. So I'm here today to tell you a little bit about some of the patches, how I use them in practice, how does it work. I use cold laser. I have 4 lasers. They're collecting dust. They're really good lasers. If anyone wants to buy them, I'll sell them to you. I just don't use them at all. And the patch I use the same way they showed me how to use the laser. I show every one of my patients how to do this. I show every practitioner how to do it. I have videos on YouTube to physically watch me do what I do. So you can see how to do the upregulation of the nerves. It's called upregulation in the terms that we use with the laser. And the patch works the same. It's the same nano wavelength anyway. Mm-hmm. And I upregulate a nerve, so I can show you how to fix a shoulder, elbow, wrist. If you patch the wrist and it doesn't get results, it can be coming from the nerve coming out of C5. And I visually show you how to do that on the video. That's 1 to 2 minutes for all of our short attention span people. So you can see how to do it and correct probably more problems than just patching the wrist or the area of injury. Mm-hmm. If you're not getting results on pain, this usually gets it. It's pretty cool. Same thing on the lower part of the body, meaning hip, back, knee, ankle. And it's really nice and simple. So I like using Lifewave. It's complicated on some people. So I started using Eon, one patch, way faster, simpler, and it's anti-inflammatory, and I stress. So it was really good for pain, and you can do yourself. When you do Lifewave, it's hard to patch your back. Mm-hmm. It's hard to patch your back of your shoulder. So I like doing that for simpler ways for people that can't do that on themselves. So that's why I went that route, and you'll see that on the video. I've seen dramatic pain reduction with glutathione, and I like putting it on and let the body tell me if it likes it. Meaning if it likes it, there's results and response. So I tell a patient, well, that means you're toxic, and it's pulling the toxic load off the body, which lowers pain and some thresholds there. So then it sort of self-educates themselves. And then when they're done and getting all balanced, this is when I say now X49 is kind of going to do everything and kind of keep everything in check as a balancing regenerative effect. So I kind of start on a few things with people being where they are here. Mm-hmm. And then I come over here and try to where if they're over here. And so I explain how the patch works is it's emitting light. You just can't see with the naked eye. So the body has infrared coming off it. If you have night vision goggles, you can see that red light coming off the body. And the patch is turned on by that light, and it signals a wavelength back to the body. The body has little cell receptors. They look like little satellite dishes. It takes the light, creates a chemical reaction within the cell, and then starts doing the healing that the patch is telling it to do. So the patch is like a wireless device, signaling. So each patch has a different wavelength. So in a light spectrum, green, red, yellow, blue, the light wavelength determines what it is. So David figured out what is the wavelength of glutathione. What is the wavelength of carnosine? What is the wavelength of GHK copper? And he's a brilliant genius. And it's like, this is energy medicine. This is the future happening 20 years now. Mm-hmm. Everybody's just now catching up to it. So it's really cool for being just getting in, because we're just now getting into massive momentum. This is the sweet spot, as people like to say. And it's not slowing down. This is what gets so exciting for me. I'm like, wow, man, I feel like I've been here for so long, and yet it's so new to so many people. So I'm the old guy, but I still feel excited and new, just like all of you. And I'm excited to share my little story and help you make faster choices and getting better results. Because I've learned a lot over the years. I don't think it's wrong. It's just, it can be a lot easier, which means duplication, which means affordability. You got to keep that in mind, in the back of your mind, because we as practitioners get so in our head, and it's like, you got to lose some of that to make it get to where patients can do it if you're trying to do the business part of it, or to share with other doctors so they can say, oh, I can streamline this into my practice. Because I have a high volume practice. I typically will see between 60 to 100 people a day. So I don't have a whole lot of time to do clock method and ice and energy and do all these placements. I got to do fast. So I like to teach people fast, because then they can duplicate that system. But there's not a wrong way. It's just, what is your way? So there's ways I share that. So that's how I kind of ask doctors, what's your style of practice? So then I can show you how you can make it fit into that style. Because you may be anti-aging, not pain management, or you may be pain management, not anti-aging. So the dialogue changes. So that's my whole story and what I do for patching, how the patches work, that I explain. But I think I answered most of what you were asking me, Stacy. So anything I miss, or you want to ask me some questions, I'll be happy to go there.
So that was fantastic introduction. Thank you so much for all that information. I know everybody, I can see them writing, their heads are down on the screen. And of course, they're all asking, what is your YouTube channel? They would love to watch the videos.
Just look at my name. So Nicholas Tivoli, DC. So Nicholas, then Tivoli, D is in doctor, C is in cat, chiropractor. And it should come up, and just click on the channel, I guess. I mean, I'm not even techie, but there's about 7 videos on the different scenarios that should be able to help you get most of the questions, most of the patching that you would typically want to try, in terms of like how I do it. And it works for pain. I'm just talking pain only,
right?
To get someone out of pain.
And I think obviously all of us that are on here, there are about 400 people now. And of course, there's going to be thousands watching this recording. We all know people in pain. And that is obviously, I watched you on stage with people come up and on a scale of 1 to 10 or above, and you would take that pain right down with an Eon. So can you explain how and why that works so fast and so effectively on random people that came up with pain in different spots?
Yeah, so I keep it real easy for patients, because I get that a lot. And I say, when you turn a light on, does it take a while? Does it take a week, a month, a day? It's instant. Why? It's because it's electrical. We're working with the electricity of the body. The patch works at light speed. This is a visual, so you can go, whoa, that makes sense. Now it's just playing with placement. Sometimes a placement can make the difference of the physical reaction. It's still doing it even if you don't feel it. So the body's really smart. We're just trying to be smart as. And what we're trying to show you is the body takes in the light information and says, I'm going to allocate it to the right places. So there's levels of awareness. Your level of conscious awareness is what you feel. Below it is where a lot of weird diseases like to hang out, like cancers and other things. So the body says, oh, we have a bigger problem than your pain. Let's go heal that. And then eventually we'll start signaling back to where you may have pain and start to dissipate some of that when the healing needs to go there. So this is why some people don't get the results right away, because something else may be more life-threatening. But again, the videos kind of give you a visual on how to do the nerve testing that usually signals to the muscle or to the joint. That could be the problem, but that's like the effect, not the cause. And the nerve could be the cause, because there's less nerve power going to the muscle. So the visual, again, is like saying, oh, I keep changing the light bulb in the kitchen, so why don't we go to the fuse box and check the fuse first, because we blew a fuse. How do you blow a fuse? A power surge. Well, what did you do to irritate your shoulder? Oh, well, I fell and landed on it. And so it jammed the joint into the neck, into the nerve. It didn't cause neck pain, though, so we don't think there's pain, but the nerve is irritated. So you stimulate the nerve with the patch, and the pain will subside in the shoulder, and now you can start rehabbing the shoulder and the nerve. So that's the visual on the video, but that's what I was doing in Phoenix when you were there, Doc. So you could, why I was doing that.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that explanation. Like when you turn a light on, it comes on immediately. It doesn't take a day or a week to turn on. That's amazing. I love that. Okay, so another big thing that we hear from people across the board is detox. And so, of course, most people don't want to detox. They don't want to experience any of the symptoms. They don't want sluggish or headaches or tired or diarrhea or any of that stuff. So how do you explain that with the patches? Obviously, the body has its own processes. What is your take on that?
I mean, I had this in practice. I had people, and I would say, well, I would get excited, and I would feel like, yeah, cheering them on to reframe it, because they're like, wait, what? You're excited that I'm throwing up and have diarrhea? I'm like, yeah, you're getting it out of your body. Don't you want it out of your body? That's what's making you so sick. And it's better out than in, right? So I reframe it and try to educate people on, you got to get the yuck out. And then moving the yuck out, it doesn't feel good. Yeah, I don't like throwing up. It's a terrible feeling. I don't like diarrhea. I don't like headaches. But your body's trying to purge out. You polluted your body. Now help release it. So healing isn't about feeling great. It's about feeling more. Okay? So you got to feel to heal. And feeling more can be feeling great. It can be feeling bad. It can be feeling. And I'm glad you're feeling. That means you're alive. So you have to trust the body knows what it's doing. And there's no easy way. If you got to purge it, get it out. Better out than in. And the faster you can do it, the sooner. And so it usually is like 2-3 days tops when people go through this. And like, it's not the end of the world. You can do it. If it's too uncomfortable, God forbid, take the patch off, drink a bunch of water, and usually your body will go back to where it was prior to putting it on within about 10-15 minutes. So if it's still too much for you, wear the patch for 10 minutes today, 20 minutes tomorrow, and gently do it. So if it's to your tolerance, if you're a big baby and can't handle the symptoms, but I usually say just plow through it. It usually goes away so quickly. I've seen it so many times. Every single time it goes away. And here's the weird one now. Say you've been patching for like a month, 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden you're like feeling horrible, pain, knee pain, back pain, I don't know what. It's your body retracing cellularly back deeper through levels of pain that would be deep levels. So think of it like taking an onion and peeling a layer off. Under this layer is happiness. Under this layer is sadness. Under this layer is pain. But you're getting to the root cause of the memory pattern that established over years in time. And this is what happens when people have this retracing effect. So David's explanation is when your body's bringing in the new stem cells, the old stem cells are dying off and purging out. And that's like cleaning out the stuff for the new stuff to happen, to heal. It's like the metaphor of like the caterpillar to the butterfly. There's those growing pains to get out, to grow and expand. And that's how I like to just explain it. But there's not an easy way. If it's too uncomfortable, just do it slower. But usually it's quickly in a couple of days and people are doing great.
Okay, so could you go a little bit further with that and say, what patches do you recommend someone to start with for that?
Always X39.
Okay.
X39 is kind of like, in my opinion, my foundational patch now. I really, really see it. I mean, I heard David say it increases glutathione by 30%. I mean, look at the skin, look at the scars disappearing. That's carnosine. Look at the everybody's energy. That's energy patches. Look at the pain dissipating. That's ice wave. People are sleeping better. That's silent night. Look at the skin. That's Alavita. So everything you can see in all the other patches, I'm saying my foundation is really set with X39. So I like people to start on that and then build off of that. So like, say you're real bad, and if you're in severe pain, I say do X39 and Neon. If you really are still bad, then add glutathione. I'm not asking you to do ice wave yet. It's too complicated. Got to afford it too. So then if it's real bad, then there's ice wave. That's how I do it. If you're really having trouble sleeping, then yeah, I'm saying do X39. Then if it's not working, do the Silent Night or Alavita. I've seen people sleep great on Alavita. So just there's different combinations to make it fit your symptoms. And again, I keep trying to get to affordability because we're in this global craziness, and I want to make sure people stay on it because I see people, they don't stay out long enough. So I had a call 2 months ago. Lady was 76 years old. She was a retired nurse, and she had the pins and needles in her feet, hands really bad. And, she was telling her story, and she said it took about 4 months, and it went away. And I said, why did you do 4 months? Everybody stops after 1 to 3 or whatever. And she said, because I've tried everything else, and I keep hearing all these stories. That's what I love about the calls. The stories keep you plugged in and believing. And then she said it just finally went away. And that's like the body heals itself. So if you're only working on your symptoms, don't drop using the patches until your symptoms go away. Then you can drop if you want to drop. And then if you're smart enough, you'll keep doing it to keep them coming back. But if you want to play the symptom game, it will get rid of your problems. I guarantee it. It's just when. I've seen it over and over and over. So I see people say, oh, I tried, it didn't work. I said, well, what'd you do? And they're like, oh, I put a patch on once. I'm like, once? Okay, that's like saying I brushed my teeth and it just didn't work, so I quit doing it. You know how stupid that sounds? Like, come on, people. You got to keep doing it to get it to work, to see the value and the benefit, and it will work. So that's how I like to give patients the real hit on the head with the sledgehammer to make them go, really try it. And if you only will do it for your symptoms, it will go away. Just keep doing it till it does, because it always does. Always does.
I love that. People always ask, how long do I have to use this patch? When can I stop? If I do stop, what's going to happen? Will everything go back to the way it was before? Can you explain a little bit about regeneration and repair?
Yeah. So look, we're all going to die. It's just when. Bottom line. So David's developing these patches to slow the aging process down. But he just started in phase of regeneration. Now we're slowing it backwards. We're regenerating backwards. We're getting younger. I mean, we're really getting younger. So the studies on the front of the website show that after being on just X39 alone for 6 weeks, there's a 2-month reversal in the internal cardiovascular system. That's just one part of the body. So what does that mean? It means we're getting younger. It's regenerating the cardiovascular. Well, it doesn't mean just that. It means every system. So the patch works systemically. It works on every organ, every cell of your body. It's regenerating. It's getting younger. So I don't know how old I'm going to get. I just know I want my quality of life to be the best it can be with the least amount of symptoms, with my brain intact, that I can go as far as I can. And I live the most natural. I'm 53. The last time I took a drug, I was 21. And I patch, and I eat my little supplements, and I eat okay. But that's what I do. That's how I live my life. So I try to give people, you can do it any way you want to. If you only want to do it to your symptoms, that's fine. If you want to live a lot longer, don't stop. It's like drinking water. You don't want to stop. You need it. It's healthy. This is a form of natural things that you can do that save you time and money. I mean, it saves you so much time and money. I get people on my call, and they're always saying, I didn't think about it, but I heard it on your call. You put a patch on your toothache and it went away, and it saved me time from going to the dentist. And I'm not trying to get people to stop going to their dentist or the chiropractor or whoever, but I'm always saying patch first, because you may get the results and saves you money and time. And inevitably it does. It's so weird. So it's like always patch for every problem first to see if it doesn't take care of it, and then do whatever you should do medically or holistically, whatever, but you might be able to fix your own problems. So that's where you're saving time and money. So
I totally agree with that. Thank you for that explanation. So I'm reading the questions in the chat as well too. And a lot of them are asking about, gut issues. I'm getting a lot of people asking about gut issues and what your recommendation would be on that. So let's go there first, because we know that gut microbiome is a huge topic now today. And so I would love to hear what your take is with the patches or your experience.
I mean, before X39, it was glutathione. I had more miracles with glutathione, and it just cleans the gut up. It cleans the body up. Let's face it. We're detoxing the body. We're getting rid of free radicals. We're getting rid of toxicities, mercury. We're getting rid of pesticides, herbicides. So glutathione is going to be your big master antioxidant. X39 is going to regenerate. Carnosine is going to do scar tissue. It's going to get rid of lactic acid burn. It's going to help regenerate the cell, or slow the aging process of the cell down, I should say. X39 is going to rebuild everything and regenerate it. So I'm going to paint a picture, and you can say, well, I'll try one, or I'll try the combination, or I'll try all three. It just depends on what you can afford and what you can do, but you can do energy patches on the meridians for the gut. So look up gut meridian, and you can play with those things if you really want to get complicated, and you're just moving energy through there, okay? Because stuff can get stuck and stagnant. David doesn't suggest you wear like glutathione at night. So say you're detoxing, you don't want to be laying in it. You want to be up and moving, so things are flushing faster and better. So that's where, if you're detoxing or have gut issues, wear that patch during the day. So there is a difference of sometimes day and night, depending on what you're trying to do. That's important. But my main success was glutathione, man. I mean, that was my rock star for gut issues.
That's perfect. That is perfect.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times people, again, going back to that detox, they have gut issues from their diet, years of eating junk, and their body out of balance, the toxic load and all of that, never detoxing anything. And so they're scared of that detox process. And so they kind of almost shy away from glutathione, even though we know it's the big master antioxidant. We know it's the immune booster. And so that just has to be something you deal with for a little bit.
Yep. So X39 though, so if you don't know and really haven't researched the peptide, I harp on everybody, please Google the peptide, go to PubMed, put in GHK-CU, read about all of the things it does. It's so much. It's resetting 4,000 genes. It's doing so many things that help beyond just stem cell activation. That's a small part. That's a marketing part that was really, really big and really powerful and very successful. But if it's the peptide that does the dramatic healing. And now X49, the daughter AHK-CU, is very, very dramatic for kind of a booster for muscle, bone, cardiovascular. That's the nitric oxide aspect. But on a side note, David was really, really excited when X39 came out about EMF, 5G. And he thought that if we had enough copper going in our body, we would have a Faraday cage within our body. And I was like, man, that would be so cool, because before I think you came in, Doc, we used to have it's called the Matrix. It was a cell phone pancake copper coil in the cell phone that blocked radiation, and it blocked your radiation on your cell phone on I think it was an iPhone 4 or 5, I can't remember. But the phones kept changing. The cell towers were getting worse, so they became obsolete. So David is big into this copper, man. That's the key metal that's so powerful, and he's to figure out how to use it for so many things. So then he said, well, X49 is now increasing the peptide, and he said it at the launch. He doesn't talk about it anymore, but he did say it at the launch that it's blocking 5G. This is a big deal because we're getting radiated at the wazoo. So X49 is, if that alone, you only wore that for that, it's worth it. This is a side note that we don't talk about much, but I feel it's necessary too. So, because 5G is bad news, man. We're being radiated everywhere now. We're cooking. Okay, we're cooking, and this is blocking it. So,
yeah, I remember when you said that. I was like, "Ooh, Faraday cage, sign me up for that." You know,
right?
Yeah, of course. I have stuff on my computer, on my phone. There's crystals everywhere. I'm doing everything I can to block 5Gs and EMFs and all this, stuff in our environment. So it is so important. And people don't really realize how, when they turn that dial up, boy, you can have serious symptoms really fast.
I think that's what's causing a lot of kids to go crazy and all the mental stuff. I mean, just as a personal side note, I'm like, what is going on with the world? And people are just like whacking out. Maybe it's just because it's social media, the phone. I don't know, but I think that the patches are helping people that are using it. I'm seeing younger people with so many problems, and I'm seeing them get better with these patches. So people ask me, can they use them? Is it good for them? I'm like, absolutely. What age? If you're breathing and alive, you can use them, period. Babies, pregnant moms, absolutely. It's like I patch everything. I patch animals, man. I patch a turtle, and it worked. Like,
turtle?
I did stuff with a fish. People can't believe the stuff that I saw. I was like, I can't make this stuff up. It's so weird. Like, patch everything, okay? I'm not kidding. It'll work.
Oh my gosh. How do you patch a fish? Oh, did you put it on the side of the tank?
Yes.
I heard that story.
Yes. I know. I did it more than once too. And I had patients watching, and they were thinking it was like a crazy dang fish came back alive. And I did this more than once. So I've seen it. It does work on an animal. It's so crazy. I know this stuff is so amazing. So yeah, always patch. When in doubt, patch.
When in doubt, patch. I love that. Okay, so back up 1 second, because Of course, we have a lot of parents on here, but we also have a lot of grandparents, and they tend to be a little bit more cautious with the little ones sometimes than the parents even are, right? And so you said, if they're breathing, if they're alive, if they're on this planet Earth, patch them. So obviously we don't have clinical studies on children. So the first two people I patched were my children. The reason why I started using patches were because of my daughter, who was special needs, nonverbal, in a wheelchair for 15 years. So kind of worst case scenario there. I didn't even read one research paper. I'm sticking the patch on the back of her neck and ordering my diamond pack to get all the other ones for her and our family too. So talk a little bit more about that with our kids, because there are so many mental and issues, anxiety, and all of that with the brain.
So the way David likes to describe it, obviously, is always make sure that they can communicate back to you. Mm-hmm. So like they can say, hey, I don't feel so good, or hey, there's got to be a little bit of a dialogue. That's what he recommends. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like parents know their kids and they know the value of what you're doing, and they trust me. And so when I say, hey, I've seen this do these things and it made a huge impact on their body, and there's no side effects because there's no drug going in your body. There's no chemical going in your body. Mm-hmm. It's non-transdermal, so nothing's going in. So if you're okay with putting your baby in the sun to make vitamin D, the patch is just making a different frequency to turn on a different wavelength to heal whatever's going on, because I get a lot of sick kids. Mm-hmm. And its immune system compromised, crazy. It's just so much. So I've been so happy with the results, and it's like, but you have to be comfortable. So I'm comfortable in my own skin to share that. Yeah. And I trust the results because I've seen it work and never hurt anybody. If you start detoxing, that's just you feeling bad, but that doesn't mean it hurt you. It got you better. It just doesn't feel better. Just understand the difference. So I like to educate patients and parents that if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. Mm-hmm. But look at all the videos on YouTube, and you can't deny that. There's so many changes. And again, if they can do it on an animal, that's your truth monitor right there. There's so many animals. I patched so many dogs and cats and horses, mm-hmm. and it worked. And we're talking lame horses. We're talking dogs that should be put down that are still alive today that are 4 or 5 years later. And some of them are on my YouTube channel. You can see the dogs. Okay, there's 3, and just miracles. So, yeah, kids, dogs. But if you're not comfortable, don't do it. I know my truth, so I'll share that. That's it.
I feel the same way. I always tell them, you're the parent. You make the choices for your child. You choose to drive through McDonald's and get them the Happy Meal. Or you choose to do holistic alternative things for them to help their body to be able to heal itself. And so, like you said, non-transdermal, nothing entering the body. And for me personally, I mean, it's been a huge game changer for my son. Obviously, it was for my daughter as well, too. And I've seen the same thing. I've had pregnant women demand patches on their body because they were in pain. And I've also patched their infants when they had little baby rashes or things like that. And, kids nonverbal, we see so much of that. So again, nothing is going into the body. So there's nothing to interact or be harmful. So, and I love that too. Pets just don't, they don't lie, right? There's no placebo when you're looking at an animal. It has nothing to gain here in the game. So I love that. So can you talk a little bit about, people are asking, back of the neck, CV7, or below the belly button, or where does it matter with the X39? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, it doesn't. So those are the 2 most common placements that everyone like to use. That's why they put that in the booklet. They've done studies on many placements, but those are the most common everyone liked out of most of them for the reasons of on the 8 major organs, how was the effects study-wise. And so those were very common placements. But again, no matter where you put it, it works systemically. Mm-hmm. So I always say, put it where it hurts. And then once the hurt goes away, put it where it hurts somewhere else, or just go to the suggested placements then. Now, if you're allergic to adhesive, it's a non-allergenic adhesive. But again, you're not used to putting a sticker on yourself every day or a Band-Aid. So you can build up a tolerance or an issue with it. So you can wear it in your pocket. It works 3 to 6 inches off your body. So if you're holding the whole pack in your hand, they're all activated, just FYI. When we first got involved, we had 50 packs of every kind because we were selling and moving a lot of product. And I was leaning up against the desk that day, and I started feeling weird as heck. I was like ready to pass out. I'm like, what is wrong? And Joan's like, you're leaning against the patches. I'm like, holy cow. It does work through wood, 3 to 6 inches. They're activated, FYI. And that was my wow effect to wake up, that you don't want to carry them in your body, in your purse, or in your, at least far enough away that they're not actively turned on. Because in the pack, it's still turned on if you're holding your hand. Just side note. So kids that say they don't like anything on them, like some of the kids that we know about, I stick it in their back pocket. You got to get creative. Or I stick it on their shirt on the back or inside of the tag. I put it in their pillowcase when they sleep at night. Okay. On dogs, I put it on their dog collar. I have a 19-year-old dog that should have been dead 5 or 6 years ago. And man, I patched the heck out of her. And now I have on her collar, I put X39, X49, carnosine, and Eon. 4 patches. I change them out once a week. The dog runs and plays like a puppy still. I can't believe this dog's still alive. She's got 1 tooth, but she looks and acts like a puppy. I swear, it's the funniest thing. And I'm just going to keep patching her till she chooses to check out. But that video's on YouTube channel. But people ask me, why are you patching a dog or an animal? Well, they're my kids. I don't have any kids, so that's my children, and that's how I give back to them to keep them healthy and young, because that's who I have. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I love that. And a lot of times, of course, we'll do things more for our children than we will for ourselves. And same thing with our pets. We'll put our pets and their health and what their needs are before our own. I see that all the time as well, too. And we love them so much, and they do love us so much, right? That unconditional love goes both ways. So thank you for sharing that, too. So I'm getting a lot of questions. Number one, about medicines. What if I'm on a medication? Do I stop? Are there interactions? What do I do or not do with the patches?
Yeah. So, I always tell everybody, I can't tell you by law. You have to talk to your medical doctor about that, and I'm sure they're going to tell you to stay on it for life. I'm just going to tell you, your body's going to start getting better, so you want to be proactive in checking things to see if you need to make corrections. But again, that's between you and them and how you want to do that. But take a stand and say, hey, I really want to do this, and I want to get better and not be on this forever because of the side effects. And you have to tell them the truth, and that's how you take a stance, because it's your body and your health, not theirs. There are no side effects to doing medications and the patches in terms of just you get better, mainly. But the only side effect of a medication that they tell you do not do with the patches is chemotherapy. So I've heard that if it's an organ transplant medication, but I've had multiple patients say, I'm doing it anyway, and they're still alive and doing great. So it's a personal preference. I can't tell you by law what you should or shouldn't do, but I can just give you other scenarios of other people's opinions and their testimonials.
Yeah, that I feel the same way. I totally get the same thing. Everybody has to make their own choice, of course. So let me ask you this. A lot of people are asking, because you're a chiropractor, I'm assuming, about ligaments and tendons, connective tissues, not just nerve pain, but the actual patching suggestions when you're looking at those types of because obviously it's all connected, right, to your bones and spine. So what would you recommend?
I've seen people regenerate a disc using carnosine. They were using Icewave for the pain, Aeon for the inflammation reduction, and this is before X39. And I've seen cartilage in a knee grow in a month using just Eon and glutathione. So they're just putting it on the meniscus. They just took an X-ray of the knee, and you could see there was bone on bone, and in a month there was space. That means there's cartilage. Wow. So the body's actually healing itself. We're just removing the toxicity the inflammation
Mhm.
and giving it some form of nutrients to help repair and rebuild and regenerate it back up. So now X39 came out, and I'm just saying I like that combination. That's kind of my magic go-to good, better, best punch. So it's like X39, Eon, and then glutathione, and I feel like that's my magic sweet spot that I find works for everything.
Perfect. I love that. I love that. Yeah, glutathione is right there, huge. I mean, you just can't get any better than the patch, like you said at the beginning. So let me ask you this, because a lot of people are asking, what if they have these rogue cells in their body that are just not duplicating correctly? How would we get how would you recommend, what would you recommend for that?
Okay, so David talked about a lot of scenarios over the years. So if we just talked about energy patches, the energy patches ramp up the ATP, the fuel that the cell needs, the mitochondria, to make it a healthy, vibrational, corrective, energetic cell. Not a bad one. They're at a lower, slower vibration of their duplication. So energy patches can actually make healthier new cells too, just with energy. So glutathione detoxes all that stuff out, and just gives the body immune support, because your immune system is always what's really healing you, period. So Eon, when Eon came out, there's a real wild story. I can't remember the whole story. It kind of goes back into, so Suzanne Summers wrote another book, Lifewave was in it. It's called Knockout, Doctors Curing Cancer Naturally. And I'm not saying that about Lifewave, but one of the chapters in the book was on the glutathione patch and how it supports the body. It's chapter 14 if you want to go read it. And it talks about what it was doing for people that are having different issues like that. But there was another doctor in the book that was out of Texas, out of Houston, I believe, that was making a very specific type of a chemical that was getting rid of the big C word, basically. And David and him are going to get into cahoots and make a patch to help do that same chemical. And that's when Eon came out magically. And well, Eon was the magic patch that was doing something. So Eon is actually that patch. Just as a side note, it's reducing inflammation. It's reducing stress. So it's doing a lot of things that are specific to disease cells, basically, in so many words. Okay. So these are my, again, go-to punch why. Look up GHK copper peptides, see what it does. There's some really specific information just under Wikipedia talks about it, that talks about what it's doing. Again, it's antiviral. So we're talking about virus, we're talking about, and most diseases start actually from a virus, believe it or not, and it becomes an inflammatory issue. So if you can get the body back into a balanced state, it'll fix itself. So that's why I like those three: Eon, glutathione, X49.
Yes, God, those are like the trifecta, right?
It is. It really is. So
it really
but
is.
Yeah, that's what I like. That's me. So and you can use more than one. I've seen people surround the area, putting like 5 of each, like over a camisole and right over the area, and let the magic happen. And you know, when in doubt, you can use more if you're really sick and having a lot of problems. You can't overdo it. Just do the 10 on, 12 on, 12 off. And David's really specific on that. I used to do 24/7, and he's like, you're not going to get the same benefit. And I finally got out of the way of myself and started following the rules, and it did work and made a bigger difference. So yeah, I'm a little bit of a rebel that way, where I like to do extreme things, and it sometimes works, but it can get me into trouble. So I'm trying to back it down and trying to do it a little bit more correctly to not be such a wild child.
Well, you know, how do you learn if you don't experiment and do things a little bit out of the envelope? I totally agree with that. You know, and so
that's how we learn. You're right.
It is how we learn. Let's piggyback on that a little bit, because you mentioned multiple patches, multiple of the same ones. And I've done that with my son 3 different times in the last 2 years when he's had an injury in basketball, whether it was a split open lip that needed stitches, or a sprained ankle that needed a brace and crutches, or, you know, different type of injury that he's had. So I've done that for acute situations where there's something happening. I'll put 3-carnosine, 3-eon, 3-X39, on those areas, just pepper that whole area. Is that what you're talking about when you say if there's an area here that there's something going on, just slam it full of patches, kind of like an acute, get the issue, under control?
Yeah. So my partner Joan had a really bad scenario, and we were using 5 glutathione and 5-eon a day.
Wow.
It took 6 months a day. But hey, look, when you want to live in the world that we live in naturally, and you're not wanting to go into the medication world, which we chose not to, we were able to do it in 6 months with before and after pictures to see nothing's there. And that's what we did. I mean, and we were juicing, we were doing a few other little things, but nothing crazy. And that's what we were doing. That was extreme. Yeah. But again, do what you can afford. And I live in that world of like, I call it the wallpaper effect, and do it until your symptoms go away. But if you're really bad, I always tell people, try to do labs and see if you can follow the labs, because the labs won't lie. Do some imagery. If you can see the image, you can get an idea of, is this working, and how to kind of like do extreme things. But when we first got involved, we were hearing all these things over in Italy and Europe. People were trying all these dramatic scenarios, and that's what gave me the idea of like, okay, when in doubt, use more, and if you can afford it, it works.
Yeah, well, when in doubt in Europe, drink beer and wine and eat bread and smoke cigarettes and all day long, right?
Yeah.
They're the healthiest people on the planet. Do more of that.
Right. No kidding.
No, I'm serious though. I totally get that. I mean, when you're in a situation, in a crisis situation, especially if you're like live or die, what do I do? What do you have to lose here? You can only help your body by more glutathione, reducing inflammation. Those are key things to your survival in all areas. And I think especially now, so many people, especially the last 3 years, they had some things on their grocery list. They had some issues. And I don't know if you see this in your practice, but that's what I've seen in the last 3 years. The lists are now a mile long. Like they've went to the grocery store for a family of 20, their problems and issues.
Yeah, the world's changed. We're getting sicker, and it's like, it's getting more bizarre for me. Like I said, it's like, we're not looking at the root cause of things. And I have my own political, personal, spiritual beliefs about what I feel that is. But I feel like I'm in alignment with you in Lifewave and David specifically. So we are on the same page. It's just getting right with things. But you have to, it's your health, your responsibility. I can't make that choice for you. I can just do what I do and be an example. And I do that with my patients to show them what I do and say, you can do whatever you like, that ever fits your budget, and make your health your priority if you want to. My health is my priority. And it's like I said, I want to live as long as I can and my brain intact and my body joints intact to be the poster child for Lifewave, to say this stuff actually really works.
Well, I think you've definitely proven that you're the poster child for Lifewave. I've definitely seen that in you from just my short interactions with you, of course, but being able to work with, Robin and Gregory as well too, and the knowledge you've passed down through them. So, and Connie as well, just so grateful for you taking the time to be here. And I'm so glad that we got to meet last year and get to know each other more. I'm looking forward to more of that this year. I know we have several more interactions we're going to be together, so I'm looking forward to that too. So Dr. Nicholas, thank you so much for answering in rapid speed. I love it. That's how I roll. Just all the different questions, all the different things, and your humor. Everyone is just, they're blowing up like, oh my God, he's hilarious. This is great. We love this. So thank you. Because it's all you learn more when you're laughing, right? When you're having a good time. So
you have to make it fun. Life's too short. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for doing what you do, Stacey. You're an awesome doctor, and you make these people so well, and what a crowd you have. That's awesome. Congrats.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, everyone, for being on here. If your questions didn't get answered tonight for some reason, get back with the person that invited you. we're all connected together. So we're all here to help each other. You'll definitely be able to get your questions answered. And of course, all the different patches we were talking about. If you're a guest tonight, the person that invited you can help you get set up with whatever pack works best for you. Or if you're like Dr. Nicholas, you're going for those, hundreds and hundreds of diamonds packs, you can definitely do all of that as well too. So we're here to help no matter what. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Dr. Nicholas, so much. I plan on seeing you soon.